it's Ice Dragon Cosplay again, and 'tis the season for a holiday tutorial. So I went and made Mistletoe Leblanc's outfit from League of Legends, and this is part 1 of that tutorial, and I'm going to pretty much go over how I did the corset in this tutorial from step 1, which is drafting the pattern, all the way to the final touches and details to finish it. As always, if you like my YouTube channel and you like what I make, please subscribe. It means a lot and it helps me. If you have any questions, of course, you can leave them down in the comments and I'll try and answer them to the best of my abilities. I also like to say that I've decided to do a coffee, so if you want to help support me and help me be able to make more cosplay related tutorials and such, that would be a big help. It doesn't cost a lot and you can just do a one-time donation. If you're not familiar with what coffee is, it's a little website and a lot of cosplayers are starting to use that now. And you can find me at ko-fi.com, Ice Dragon Cosplay. And I'll also leave a link in the description below. Okay, so enough of all that self-promotion and whatnot. Let's go ahead and start tutorial on Mistletoe Leblanc, part 1. Okay, so you're going to want to start out with a mannequin that's set to your measurements. If you don't have a dress form or a mannequin, then you can always do this on yourself. Just make sure that you're wearing nothing too baggy. Like if you wear just like, cycling shorts and a tank top or a tube top, that would work as well. And we're going to start off with covering everywhere that needs to be covered in cellophane. And this is going to protect either you, if you're doing it on yourself, or your dress form mannequin. I'm sure people have seen this before for making patterns for armor, but you can do it just as well for making any sort of tight-fitting clothes, which corset, because corsets need to be tight-fitting. And then after that, you're going to need your masking tape. And literally just start masking taping over everywhere that you need this corset to fit. Okay, so I jumped ahead so you didn't have to watch me do the boring process of all that masking taping. And now we're actually drafting up the basic lines for a very generic corset. For this process, to help myself, I kind of just Google searched like pattern, corset pattern, to kind of get an idea of how most people's pattern lines go on the corset. And I'm just doing it in blue so that you can kind of see it better. As you notice, I only covered half the mannequin in dress form in masking tape because I'm just going to reverse the image for myself. That's going to be where my eyelets go. Now I'm going to take another pen and I'm going to define better where the... So you're probably wondering what that X is. You want that at the peak of your boob. That sounds horrible. And the dotted lines are kind of where you gotta choose one of those to make your seam for your cup. Now I choose up and down one because I have Mistletoe Leblanc has a lot of up and down seams in hers, so I thought it would just look better if I just kind of kept that same general seam going. On top of everything else, that part has white lace trim, so it just seemed better because I can hide it later on with the white trim. Now I'm going over in a black Sharpie the actual pattern lines I'm going to be using. It kind of helps to make a little picture of, what you want your corset to look like. You could do the dotted lines too to help you do all your seams. As you'll notice later on, I get a little lazy and I just start drawing it by looking at the picture of her. What you don't notice is that I have her picture over on the side pulled up on my computer. So you want that curved line in that area because what is a corset going to be doing? It's going to be tucking you in. I decided I didn't want it in the back though because that was a little counterproductive. You need it more on the sides, not on the front and the back. And that's where all my lines are going to go in all my different seams. So now you're going to take some scissors, not sewing scissors, and you're going to cut your dress form or yourself out of it. Just if it's you, don't cut your clothes. And now this step's pretty easy. You're just cutting all of those lines that you made. Ta-da! Now I'm actually going to write down, which it's really blurry, but I'm writing down so I know what piece is what, or else it's just going to become a big mess. Just as long as you know distinct. Then I'm also going to draw in a bunch of little triangles, which are also so I know where the pieces need to match up with each other. This is going to help so much when you're sewing it. And I'm sure if you've seen other patterns, you notice they have all those little notches as well. And I always start out by cutting out the BB cut. And that's going to get cut in half. Getting rid of that part because I don't want it. Like I said, don't forget to cut all your notches. And that's pretty much it. Now the next step is tracing it onto a piece of paper. I just use computer paper because I can get away with it. Now the real trick with this is trying to keep it, not moving. You could tape it down if you really wanted to. Of course, you have to remember, we're going to be sewing this, so we need to add seam allowance. So, however much seam allowance you want, you need to add that on to your line pattern, or else it's not going to fit. So here's how that all turned out on paper, and I'm literally just going to start pinning and cutting it. Now I decided for my fabric, I had some leftover polyester wool, and that's what I'm using. The reason I also use this is I don't have to have a lining. Now, if you're not going to use something really thick like this, or that's something that frays, you're going to need a lining for your corset. But like I said, I'm using this because it scraps. I like the way the fabric looked for her outfit, so I decided to go with it. Like I said, while you're cutting it, just make sure that you have 2 of each piece. So like my fabric's folded right now, because you need 1 for each side. If you're not using something thick, you're gonna have to cut 2 of each for your lining as well. And here's how it looks. So yes, I skipped the boring aspect of sewing it all together. I figured you guys should know kind of how to sew seams together. This part is more like if you want to add a courtesy flap in your corset. So I picked one of my sides where I had not sewn the last panel on yet, and I just basically cut an extra panel that met the length of it, and I'm just pinning it on, and see, it'll sew in like that. And that's how I got my courtesy panel. Now I'm just going to press all of my seams to make it look a little better. And now I'm going to do the hard part now, which is putting the boobs on. This is where the notches really come in to help. As you can see, that's what I'm doing, is I'm lining up my notches to make sure. Now, if you're worried about support, then you might want to put in like the push-up cups. I didn't really feel the need to do that because I just didn't want to. And now I'm adding on my trimming, which I just got lace that I thought was as close to as possible, and I'm pinning it. Make sure when you pin it over the breast area, the booby cup area, that you poke it out so that you can see that it's not going to be flat. Just pin it in place and sew it on. Ta-da! Now I'm just going to mark each of the seams that I want to put my bias tape on, and this is going to create my tubes for my boning. Alright, I've sewn them on, all my stuff. The other piece that I missed is I also did the top. After I sewed that on, I did bias tape along the top. So here I've gone ahead and I put all my boning in, and now I'm doing, what you've missed is I've done the bottom. I finished that off after I put my boning in. Right here I've drawn all my lines from my eyelets. And I'm just gonna pop them in. So this tool is one of those hand eyelet tools, and I cannot recommend this enough. I had so many problems with eyelets before that. And here's where all the eyelets go. You know, you got it some at the front because she laces up in the front, and then you have the ones in the back. And here she is all done. So you can see I've laced her up. The only other step is I did add some really thick red ribbon to go like that, but I just want to show you guys what it ended up looking like.
Alright, and that concludes part 1 of Mistletoe Leblanc. So in my part 2 video, I go over how I made the cape and the skirt. So you should go check that out if you want to see how I made the rest of the outfit. I hope you enjoyed this and that it was easy enough to understand. If you have any questions, please feel free to write it down in the comments and I will answer it to the best of my abilities. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and I'll see you next time. Happy holidays!